Among the most serious items taken from me when Carnegie Mellon raided the Slipperman riots, 1994, was a photograph of me receiving in the Wake of Poseidon for Christmas when I was 10 years old. And the Wake of Poseidon is fundamental to understanding the research that I've done because of a man named Tamo de Jong, who inspired the cover, which is a collection of archetypes. The idea of archetypes is easy to understand. When Joe Louis would fight a white boxer, all the black people cheered for Joe Louis and all the white people cheered for the white boxer, or more or less. Maybe there were some exceptions. Um, there were ideas of a celebrity superstate. People may change their name and act, but you identify with them. Who's your favorite movie star? Is a very common question. There's a African tribe that believes that all of the animals came in one seeded ark and multiplied from there. So the search for unifying principles is behind the idea of archetypes. So when you build an ark, you need to advocate for certain archetypes, and you also need to clear the air by sacrificing certain archetypes. And this is how we ended up with the Arc of Colors Syndicate, and we put on the morality play of hair as a function of um, clearing the air for Yoko Ono of the shadows of Hiroshima. You see it all the time. They compare Gaza to Hiroshima. I'm not sure how legitimate that is. They don't compare Nanking to Gaza, which is clearly legitimate. But the idea that we are one suggests that Hiroshima was a warning that by seeking to destroy each other, we're destroying ourselves. It's an interesting idea, I think. But what happens is that Gurdjieff calls us three-brain beings. I know from having been chemically castrated and using Cialis that the memories of the horrible attack on my neurological system by revenge assassins like Ichiro and Midori Goto working with De Jong's coterie, who put on the Last Supper and Paris Olympics, are stored in one of my brains. And we have various scholars who are gifted and very physical, who understand the torments of dementia. And they've utilized medical violence as a practical application of totalitarian social science. They're operating from behind the window of Midori, of Sony and Microsoft, who now have access to all of our inner workings and are processing our inability to comprehend our social obligations and improve our safety net and feedback systems in law and order and social conduct. When I realized what they were doing, and I was right, I secured their papers. They were subjecting the persona to excessive degradations of the X motive. I decided the best thing for everybody would be for me to play into the trap and get evidence, which I did. I'm dealing with hostile ingrates who did not want to be warned, who were poachers, who were playing pussy ball rather than help the poor in Nigeria, rather than seek the hunger projects ideas on campus, rather than develop alternatives for human civilization to the arms race like healthy water supplies throughout the world. Rather than do this, they wanted to um, defend the unconscionable. And they were part of a plastic reality show that was put on in Hollywood. They believed that a higher species of government is to appeal to the occult worship of celebrities on the part of the masses so that they accept being excluded because they get to worship their weird enemies, like the way that people flock to see Mick Jagger and Roger Waters, despite the fact that they're playing both sides in the Israeli-Palestine conflict. I'd like to say some Jews have a right to exist. There's no question about that. Israel was founded to protect that right to exist because of the activities, the horrible activities of the Third Reich. I no longer believe Israel has the right to exist after what they've done to Gaza. We have to live with a crime that has violated the safety and sanity of the human race, which we had they used to have an idea that this is a war to end all wars. Well, it's just a Holocaust to end all Holocausts. They're not even professing that it is. They're creating a new species of normalization of genocide. It has to stop. And these insane criminals like Joe Biden have to be apprehended by the realities of the International Court of Justice. It's creepy what they're pulling. And they're doing it eccentrically to heat up the world. Some of them are actually promoting the idea that Jesus is coming back and we're heating up the world to force him to come back. They're actually killing people because they're of a different religion from a society that separates church and state for the very good reason that we don't want religious extremists and fanatics and psychotics killing innocent people. And they refer, of course, to the Old Testament, yada, 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 you know, what God did to the masses and so on and so forth. It's abhorrent, and it shouldn't be tolerated, and it shouldn't be indulged. And then whether you're a good Christian or not, you should see the truth of the Israeli government's bombardment of Christianity. They're blowing up old churches, and you say, "Oh, that's good Christianity to blow up old churches," because you get the mosques in the meantime. I mean, the precariously close to starting World War III, and it's absurd the idea that they have the right to do so. Nobody is threatening them as long as they stop it, and they refuse. So they're bound up in their own evil idiocy to such a torrential degree that America needs to put an embargo in place, sanction them, expel their diplomats, bring a halt to their torrential cruelty and Armageddonism. I know that the Zionists attacked me in Pittsburgh because I was white and they could sell it to the black community of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is just very loathsome in that way. They love to victimize people. They're hardcore pack animals. They flash mobs and wolf packs based on evil lies is commonplace in the schools of Pittsburgh. And in order to get the better of it, we have to understand it. And we seem to be unwilling to understand it. Yeah, people feel that their faith protects them, but it's up to ultimately the power of whatever God you believe in to decide ultimately your spiritual faith. People can only do the best they can. I believe that good works are the most important feature of our spiritual life. And one of the good works is not to torture people, not to kill them. Then to not do something is an important good work sometimes. So it's important not to do certain things, like offer money to the apparatus responsible for the scrum.